aims and goals of education. Okay, which consists of basis of educational aims and goals, aims and goals of education in Indian philosophical tradition, aims and goals of education Western thought, aims and goals of education modern Indian context, and aims of education that is modern thinkers. We are having 5 units under within this particular block 3. We are having 5 units. Okay, so first the basis of educational aims and goals. So the basis of educational aims and goals. What do you mean by the word particular meaning of aim in education? So a purposeful activity can be defined as one which comprises what? It has an aim. So an aim implies an orderly and ordered activity, one in which the order consists in the progressive completing of a process. So orderly activity means what? That is, it is a systematic activity which has a sequential or multi-sequential, which should be internal consistency. There should be internal consistency within it, coherence in the activity. It is an ordered activity, means what? That it has some direction. Direction is felt at each successive step. So aim is therefore is a systematic activity which is carried out with the essence of direction at each stage. So aim is required in each and every stage of education for curriculum planning, organization, provision, and thorough monitoring is required. So follow-up action can be taken for proper evaluation process. So why do we require educational aims? What is the need for educational aims? So according to Dewey, to have an aim is to act with meaning, not like automatic machine. So an abnormal person is one who works in a meaningless activity. An intelligent fellow always works in a meaningful order or in a meaningful activity. And everything is ordered, organized in a proper way, in a systematic way. Then only will be able to reach our destination. Here we see that aims of education and objectives of teaching. So what is the distinction between aims and objectives? So here, what is a goal? Goal is a term which is always used in places where we can also use aim. It has been used in an interchangeable manner, but that is not the case. Goal means something else. It has aims, or it has set for a long duration. Goal is a term used in regard to life in general. Goals are set for a long duration and the terminal stages of life. Goals are used interchangeably with purposes of life, while goals are abstract and too general in nature. So here we see purposes are concrete in nature. What about aims? Aims, while aims of life can be specific in contrast to goals. So goals are broader in nature, whereas specific reference is given for aims. So aim of education are too general and they influence educational processes at all stages. Objectives. What about objectives? So objectives are normally referred to in the context of a planned program of teaching. They are highly specific in nature. So aim refers to some broader area. Objectives were specific in nature. Therefore, we have in lesson planning general aims and specific objectives. The specific objectives refers to the particular chapter we teach, and general aims refers to the subject in toto or in totality. For example, if we are teaching history, the general aims will be referring to the teaching of history, whereas the objectives will refer to for the chapter which will be teaching. That is, for example, the chapter like Sahajar, Ashoka, Akbar. So specific to that particular thing, the specific objectives are written. So it normally we say that, so relationship between aims, objectives and other educational processes. We find there is a flow chart. Aims of education, they affect the curriculum planning, construction and organization, including co-curriculum. Then the planning, organization and conduct of teaching learning process. then the evaluation process, finally the outcome of education. Again, what we see, there are taxonomy of educational objectives. Objectives are used in writing lesson plans by teachers for regular classroom instruction, for designing instruction in laboratory situations of learning, in framing unit plans, in evaluation of outcomes of learning. So mastery of learning techniques are designed. Program learning uses objectives. These are examples where objectives are used for planning the entire teaching learning process. Again, Bloom's taxonomy. What does that mean? So this taxonomy was used by or received by teachers, educationists, and test developers. Test developers because it offered easily understandable guidelines for systematic evaluation of cognitive processes. Here, taxonomy has definite influence on curriculum development and teaching method. We know that Bloom's taxonomy comprised of 6 cognitive levels. What are they? They proceed from simple to complex for cognitive development or for mental development. What are the 6 levels? From the simple to the complex part, that is from knowledge to evaluation. First comes the knowledge. It is the lowest level. Then the comprehension. Then application. Then analysis. Then synthesis. And finally evaluation. First, the child has to know the particular, get the information. Then the child has to comprehend or understand the thing. Then apply it. Then the child has to analyze it. Then he'll be able to synthesize or summarize it. And finally, the child will be able to have a value judgment or evaluate a particular thing. So here we see taxonomies have been helpful in what? In helping the educators, educational administrators, and curriculum planners, test constructors, and specifically the classroom teachers and teacher educators. They function as a bridge between what? Abstract educational ideas and micro-level experiences organized by school, classroom teachers for their students. Again, what we see that Anderson has also given a revised taxonomy. Bloom had given the original taxonomy, that is the 6 levels from knowledge to evaluation. Anderson has given what? Remembering, then comes understanding, then applying, then analyzing, then evaluating, then creating. Under it, some subcategories are also there. For remembering, we have recognizing, listing, describing, identifying, retrieving, and naming. Under understanding, we are having interpreting, exemplifying, classifying, summarizing, inferring, comparing, explaining. Applying, under applying, what we are having? Executing, implementing, carrying out, and using. Under the analyzing category, we have subcategories like differentiating, organizing, attributing, comparing, deconstructing, evaluating, checking, fitting, judging, creating. Under creating, we are having what? Generating, planning, designing, producing, and constructing. So this is a detailed form of Anderson's revised taxonomy of educational objectives. Again, determination of educational aims. How are they determined? How are they formed? So here we see that determination of an interdisciplinary exercise. So here we see that your human life, that is whether in the individual case or societal case, is a highly complex phenomena. It has also highly intricate interdependence. Interdependence in the sense that individual life is affected by the social life. Your social life, again, we see that the political system, the social system, the economic system, all of them are interrelated in a society. In the same way, education is also a subsystem in the society. So the aim of it should be arranged in such a manner so that the all-round development of the individual will take place. So understanding the biological, physical, social universe and living in harmony with it is the essential for human survival. As we know that survival of the fittest, A person who can adjust well, who can overcome all the odd situations, then only he'll be able to sustain. Otherwise, there will be frustration, adjustment problem. So, education should help to avoid all these problems. So, here we see various branches of science have contribution. For example, social sciences, language, literature, mathematics, measurement sciences, philosophy. So aim of education are influenced by all branches of knowledge and especially the human sciences. Hence, determination of educational aims, what is that? Is an interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, metadisciplinary, cross-disciplinary exercise. So, what are the sources of interdisciplinarity? Philosophy. So, philosophy provides the comprehensive picture of the universe around us. The educational aims of great educational thinkers were rooted in their metaphysical views about man, his possibility and destiny. Normative philosophy is concerned with value, moral, and aesthetic norms, standards, guidelines for the conduct of human affairs. So here we see that philosophy helps us in framing the educational aims and objectives. What about psychology? Psychology is very much required because the study of psychology will help us to understand how the child reacts. The teacher will have idea about child psychology, growth and development, adjustment. So here the curriculum should be arranged in such a manner so that it should be age specific, interest specific, according to the requirements of the child, abilities of the child, aptitude of the child. Then only the child will be motivated to learn. Then we can take references from sociology because education is what? Is a tripolar process. According to John Dewey, there are three poles of education. One is the student, another one is the teacher, another one is what? The social environment. So social environment do affect the teaching learning process. Again, school is a miniature society. So here the child learns how to adjust in the society in future. Therefore, the aim should be or the objective should be in such a way where we can see that the community living or the social lifestyle is to be taught in the school. What about anthropology? So even anthropology as balanced personality development of children is a significant aim of education. The insights, messages and learning from anthropology assume significance in the determination of educational aims. So we see that anthropology also helps in the determination of educational aims. What about history? So history helps us to understand the different problems that were there in the past. So that if we are able to understand that, will not repeat the same mistakes. Some of the problems of today had the origin in the past. That is, the problems of today had a genesis in the educational policies of the past, and they have continued as time passes. So if we are able to understand the historical significance of that, we'll be able to solve it out, will not repeat the same mistake again. So here we see that history of education has of immense value for defining and redefining the aim of education. Even the subject economics helps us since education is considered as an investment. So here we see that is the resources available for education is a significant parameter in the realistic determination of aims. There is no use of setting unrealizable aim of education. We should set only those aims which we can achieve. Otherwise, there will be wastage of time, energy, and money. Political science. Education empowers people. So, it gives them a sense of freedom. So, politics is the art and science of statecraft. So, education is a public service. So, here we have to see that education should help the child to understand and provide them the civic sense. Again, for a democratic country, we have to train the children for proper leadership qualities, training of citizenship. What about geography? So here, regional diversity, students should get idea about regional diversities. The study of geography will help them to understand the different regional diversities. So here we see the different types of subjects and their interdisciplinary approach in framing the aims of educational aims are to be framed. So here, what are the criteria of framing sound educational aims? Aims must emerge from the existing condition. That is, the present societal demands are to be taken into consideration. Then, aim should be plan of action, a tentative sketch, a blueprint. It must be flexible in character. It should not be rigid. It should be flexible so that depending upon the situation, changes can be made. Again, the aim must be founded upon the activities and needs of the given group of individuals to be educated. That is, psychology of the learner should be taken care of. Otherwise, the learner will not be motivated to complete the particular course or will not have any interest or only develop rote memorization and rote learning. Again, the aim should reflect the individual and social aspiration of the people. It must be related to the life, need, and aspiration of the people. And here we see what about the Indian perspective. So, contextual analysis of educational aims in India. So, after the independence, the entire constitution focused upon what? That is providing free and compulsory education. That is Article 45, the reference we find in Article 45. Again, there are different types of provisions or different types of schemes were there. That is Operation Blackboard, Operational Blackboard, Sarva Sikkha Abhijan, DPP, Diet. All these are examples of what? That is providing education to all, universalization of education. Then we see what? That is the aims and goals of education in Indian philosophical tradition. So here, educational philosophy or Sankhya Yoga. So here, traditionally, what are the educational schools of philosophy in Indian context? We see that in Sankhya Yoga, there is a diagrammatic description has been given. Prakriti refers to nature. Then we have buddhi, then we have ego, then mind, sensory organs, motor organs, and subtle elements, gross elements. So here we see Sankhya is considered as the oldest of the six systems of ancient Indian philosophies, and it was propounded by Kapila Muni. So, Kapila Muni was the ancient Indian sage or hermit who had propounded what? The Sankhya philosophy. It is the oldest of all and it is dependent upon two realities. One is Purusha, another one is Prakriti. Purusha is characterized or refers to pure consciousness. Prakriti refers to non-consciousness. Again, we see which acquires the form and is modifiable or changeable. So both Purusha and Prakriti are equally interdependent. These are two independent realities, but still they complement to each other. Again, we see that they influence each other. And this particular school of philosophy has focused upon proper development of the child, all round development of the child. So, what are the aims according to it? So, the ultimate aim of education according to this Sankhya philosophy is what? Liberation or attainment of salvation, Moksha Prapti. That is the main focus. Again, what we see that is removal of ahankara is important. What are the things which lead to all kind of suffering? Wrong knowledge. The difference between real knowledge and wrong knowledge. Then moho, maya, all these create different kinds of problem. One has to one has to attain, if one wants to attain salvation, then he have to move above all these things. So the ultimate aim of education is to obtain the real knowledge of self, of pure consciousness. Liberation or moksha is nothing but the realization of self. That is linking the Atma with the Paramatma. And here we see that worldly or proximate aims of education. So worldly or proximate aim of education focuses upon what? That is physical development aim, knowledge gaining aims. The physical development, proper development of body is required. Harmonious development of body, proper functioning. For that, yoga should be practiced. A proper education through yogic means can keep the body and its biological functioning free from the burden of inactivity or inertia. Then the knowledge aim, that is how to train the sensory organs, which are the gateway of knowledge. Again, the Bauddhic or intellectual development aims. What does that mean? So, intellectual knowledge is to be gathered, higher kind of knowledge. So, mental knowledge starts with sensation. So, training of sense organ is a must because that only will help you to attain the real knowledge. Avoid all kind of misconception. Your perception should be right. There should not be any fallacy while perceiving or while observing. Again, the philosophy of Upanishad and its aim. What does it say? So here, etymologically, here we see that the word Upanishad means sitting, sitting nearby devotedly. So here we see that Upanishad is a dialogue between the teacher and the students, just like in the Guru Sishya Parampara, where the inquiring student discusses all the doubts pertaining to experience with his teacher. So Upanishad is what? Is just like sitting near the Guru. The student is asking or inquiring about all the doubts the student has and the Guru is clearing. It is just imagine a scene just like in a Gurukula ashrama where the Guru is discussing and the student is listening and the student is asking the different types of doubt for the clarification of doubt. And here we see what? It has focused about what? The clear-cut assumptions of what? The nature of knowledge, how to get that knowledge, how to get the real knowledge. So it is obtained through self-effort. Self-effort is to be there. Here, perseverance of the knower. Teacher's guidance is required, but the student himself have to find it out. So self-effort, self-study is to be there. Knowledge getting process is individual and personal. Every student obtains knowledge in accordance with his or her needs, motivation, capabilities, abilities, his or her own pace using self-constructed learning strategies. So you have to lead your own journey. No one can live a life for you. You have to lead it out. You have to face the circumstances. So self-learning is important. Self-effort is important. Again, the Upanishadic teachers, therefore, before accepting someone as their Shishya, used to test his or her essential personality, makeup including interest, motivation, attitude, and the like. So here the Upanishadic teachers or gurus, before admitting the students into Gurukula Ashrama, just like we are having an entrance examination, they used to teach or they used to test their students whether they are able to read or not, whether they are having that kind of intrinsic motivation or not, whether they are literally interested for receiving real knowledge or not. And then only after testing them properly, after testing those students, those individuals, then they were allowed to get admitted into the Gurukula ashrama for receiving the real knowledge. Then what about the aims of education? So the aims of education here, see what? That is the well-known doctrine of power kosha. There are 5 sheaths. What are they? First is the physical sheath, Anamaya kosha. Then the Pranamaya kosha, that is the vital energy sheath. Then we find what? Manamaya kosha. Then the Vijnanamaya kosha. These are all Sanskrit terms. Then the Anandamaya kosha. So first one is what? That is the physical sheath. It is referring to what? That is the infinite is Brahma. From it, from this sense, space came to be. From space, the wind. From wind, the fire. From fire, the water. From water, the earth, the planets, the plants. From earth, the plants, and from plants, the food, and from food, the body of man. This body of man, composed of the essence of food, is the physical sheath of self. So these are the different codes that are found in the Upanishad. So here, physical training is a must. And harmonious physical development can only be possible if one has balanced diet, along with it good physical exercise. What about the vital energy sheath? The vital energy sheath is what? Proper use of breath is a key to the mastering the mind and transcending it to the higher realm of consciousness. So here it has focused to proper use of breath, your pranayam. That is important. Quite other than this physical sheath, which consists of food and interior to it is the energy sheath that consists of breath. So here we see it has the same form. The first has the likeness of man, and because of it has the likeness of man, the second flows it and itself takes on the likeness of man. Through this vital sheath, senses perform their office. From this, men and beasts derive their life. So breath, for the breath is the life of being, so it is called the life of all. So here, pranamaya kosha, the life, we say that if a person stops breathing, that means he is no more. So here, pranamaya kosha is considered as the vital energy seat. It is referring to what? The proper use of the breath. So what about the manomaya kosha? So here it is the third one, manomaya, the intellective self. So here, Manomaya Kosa, under the development comes formation of concept, construction of ideas, development of many cognitive, affective, and psychomotor skills, development of linguistic abilities and awareness, understanding of the environment around. So this is very important. What about the Jnanamaya Kosha? So Jnanamaya Kosha refers to what? That is intellective self. Vijnanamaya Kosa refers to what? Here we see that all knowledge cannot be attained by the senses and the mind. Here, development of buddhi is there. Trans-empirical faculty is the fourth aim of education. So here, buddhi will guide us. So buddhi is our guide to the unknown. Then what about the Anandamaya Kosha? It is the apex or the fifth part, fifth sheath, understanding of which constitute the final aim of education. So what is it? That is, it is the stage which is totally liberated and free from all sorts of maya and moho and bondages and ignorance. So this particular stage will help you to lead to salvation or liberation. That is, it can be only achieved through meditation, dhyana. What about the Jaina philosophy and its aims of education? So here, according to Jaina philosophy, knowledge that inspires a man towards a good, pure and pious life is vidya or education. So here, education is what? Which inspires a man to lead a good, pure and pious life. And so that the individual has a good character. Again, what do you mean by metaphysical aspects of Jainism and its aim? So, right knowledge. It has focused upon what? Right knowledge. Right knowledge, then right conduct, then right faith. So here, right knowledge is what? The knowledge which help you to attain liberation. Separation of Jivatma from the layers of Pudgal. What do you mean by Pudgal? Matter or material. You have to get rid of those. Then only you'll able to have what? Attain salvation. What are the bad disposition? That is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moh, Ahankara. These are all referring to what? That is your material or matter. These will cause bondage and this will also hamper in acquiring what? The real knowledge. And this will lead to our ignorance. So one has to get out of this, get rid of these. Then only the right knowledge you will be able to get. Then right conduct. So here we see that one needs to discipline the personality to a state of equanimity, which is not distributed or distracted by, which is not disturbed or distracted by the attraction of the mundane world, the stability of the ego. So here, how to react, what kind of conduct, what type of behavior, what is acceptable, right conduct. So that is important. Then what about right faith? So here we see the term right faith implies development of good disposition, After gradually destroying the bad disposition, knowledge attained at a purely logical or intellectual level can convert a man into a right thinker. Then only right faith will develop. So, right knowledge can be attained through learning, reading of good literature, thinking and contemplation. Then only will be able to achieve what? Liberation. So, what next? So, here we see that is overall the Jainism philosophy describes or prescribes what? Understanding and the practice of Pancha Mahavratas. What are those Pancha Mahavratas? Ahimsa, non-violence, Satya or truth, non-stealing, non-hoarding, Brahmacharya Vrata. And what are the gunas or dharmas that are to be practiced? What are the characteristics? That is what? To practice forgiveness. Simplicity should have simplicity, tenderness, self-content, purity, austerity, renunciation, non-attachment, and celibacy. So these are the 10 things or 10 gunas or characteristics one has to follow. Then only one can practice the Panch Mahavratas and attain liberation. What about the Buddhist philosophy? According to Buddhist philosophy, we need to understand the noble truths. What are they? Life is full of sorrow. The sufferings have some causes. It is possible to get rid of sufferings that we have. There are ways to end these sufferings. So, how can we end these sufferings? And these sufferings are due to our ignorance. And if we have the real knowledge and the right knowledge, then only will be able to achieve what? Liberation or moksha prapti. So here there is the Ashtamarga. The Buddha prescribed a path consisting of 8 steps which embody the fundamental principles of Buddhist philosophy. These 8 steps are what? First is right knowledge, right will, right speech, right conduct, right vocation, right practice, right remembrance or repetition, then right meditation. Then, what about the first? Right knowledge or perception? So, here we have to see that what? The false perception or knowledge about the world is developed because of our wrong identification of self with the body, mind, organism. So, we need to observe the right thing. We need to understand what is real knowledge and what is wrong. So, here what is needed is to obtain a true knowledge of the self as spiritual and non material, which is possible through right perception. So, right perception is required for having right knowledge. So, what about the second one? Right determination or will. So, here, having obtained the right perception of the self and world, one becomes capable of choosing and doing the right thing. So here, when you have got or when you know what is right, if you have the right perception, then you'll be able to have the right determination, right will. Only literacy is not enough. You have to be a cultured person. You should have right will and determination. And this kind of self-determination is what is expected in the Buddhist philosophy. Then right speech. You should have control over what one speaks in different situations. Develop appropriate, balanced, right kind of language and speech is an important thing. Then right conduct. Goodwill and intention should be there. Well balanced conduct is there. The right knowledge, right will, and right speech are essential concomitants of right actions and deeds. So, you should practice what? Non-violence, tell truth, non-stealing, control over senses. These are important. Then right vocation. So here it means what? The kind of vocation which an individual is psychologically befitting according to the interest, abilities, and aptitudes of the individual, so that he can lead a happier, content, and satisfied life. One should have the ethical knowledge. One should be morally sound. So, here Buddhism stress that one can attain selfhood by being self-reliant, by earning livelihood through rightful means, thereby feed himself and the family depending on him. Then, right exercise or practice. So right exercise or practice refers to what? Here we see that sanskaras with which one is born or which are acquired during the lifetime as a result of experiences. These sanskaras may cause bad thought or disposition. It is therefore essential for an educated man to practice right knowledge, right will, constantly and continually, so that the old bad thoughts or feeling or dispositions are completely washed away. So no new bad disposition enter the mind. So good ideas and feelings are deliberately, consciously allowed to enter and fill the mind. So efforts are constantly made to entertain and retain good thoughts. What about right memory? So here it means that what in present day psychology is termed as selective awareness. So one has to adjust accordingly. An individual who is not able to make proper distinction between what stimuli or experiences are worth remembering and what are not is not a well adjusted person. What you should remember, what you should not remember, what you should let go, that is important. Then only you'll able to adjust. Otherwise, you'll have a hangover of a particular situation, which will not help you to have a good personality or good character formation. Then finally, what? That is the eighth one is what? Right meditation. So, as a result of attending all the above characteristics or traits, an individual qualifies himself, that is, to enter into the final stage, is what? Ultimate goal of life is what? Just like Jainism, Buddhism also focuses on what? That is, complete liberation or a state of nirvana. So there are some modified aims of this educational philosophy, like moral life, development of personality, conservation of culture, total development of personality. It focuses upon the all-round development of personality. What about the Western schools of thought? The first one is what? Idealism. Idealism refers to what or puts emphasis on upon what? That is, ideas are important, ideas are real, and it is supported by whom? Plato, Socrates, Hegel, Kant. These are the philosophers. It is the oldest of the all schools of philosophy. For them, human mind is the most important element. The universe is not composed of material in its ultimate nature. Mind, soul, or spirit is important. So, here, what is reality according to idealists? The reality refers to what? For idealists, only the mental or the spiritual is ultimate real. So, spirit is real, matter is not real, mind is real, ideas are real. What about epistemology? So, epistemology refers to what? The study of knowledge. Here, the act of knowing takes place within the mind. Idealist knowledge is based on recognition of talent. Ideas are already present in the mind. So here we say that ideas are real. Knowledge can be gained from mind itself. Axiology. What about axiology? So the school emphasizes intellectual activities, moral judgment, aesthetic judgment, self-realization, individual freedom, individual responsibility, and self-control in order to achieve this development. So what are the different aims? It suggests what? Self-realization, development of spiritual values, cultivation of what? Truth, beauty, and goodness, conservation and promotion and transmission of cultural heritage. Again, what? Preparation for a holy life, development of rationality. All these are different aims of idealistic philosophy or idealism. Again, what about phenomenology? So here, this particular school has been supported by a group of thinkers like your Alfred, Edmund, so who have described that world in terms of physical environment, but rather as a symbolic endowed world of meaning. So here, world is not in terms of physical environment, but rather as a symbolic endowed world of meaning. So here we see that they emphasize the quest is based on search for essence in the cultural and social sphere. The subject of study is a phenomenon, an event, a social context, a cultural, social, physical, and ideational environment as they exist and constitute the reality. So, what about the reality? This particular school says everyday reality there is socially constructed system in which people give phenomena a certain order to reality. The type of interaction they have, the type of social relation they have, every day they create reality. So here we see that the outer visible world of experience is a reality which gives meaning to the reality that is composed of human interaction with the environment. What about epistemology? So, here, according to this particular school, truth is inseparable from our personal perception. So, here, subjective experiences they have given emphasis upon subjective experiences. True knowledge is acquired through what? Observation, description, classification. So, here we see that is through our sense organ we can receive the true knowledge by observing it, by describing it, by classifying it. Value. What about value? The phenomenology's view about value is determined by the perception of what? Individual of the outer world. So it totally depends on nature of experience that is obtained by human action. So the aims according to this particular school is what? Here we see understanding the role of authority, making an individual quite free to get experiences, equipping the human mind with the knowledge of things which is obtained through the educational process by getting to the essence of the object. So here the education must aim at developing an intuitive quality of mind because without it the object, phenomena or events cannot be studied. What about empiricism? Empiricism is an attitude of mind rather than a specific school of philosophy because it does not provide a definite metaphysical as well as epistemology doctrine. So, what is it? So, here they focus upon what? That is, those things. It is a revolt against the attitude of thinkers who became so who they are enamored of the answers they found that they did not take the trouble to inquire whether it actually supplied an answer to the question, whether it fitted with the facts of experience. And this particular school was supported by Bacon, Hume, Locke, Russell, and what does it say? According to this particular school, that is the empiricists, they lay emphasis upon the external world. It is for the human mind to analyze it scientifically. Again, what about the epistemology? So here, objectivity of knowledge is important. So that is acquired by sense perception, scientific processes, experiment is to be done. Then only the truth is to come out. Analysis of data, observed inferences leading to the development of hypotheses. The axiology part, empirics hold the view that the objects known to the human mind are of three kinds: ideas, finite mind, and the infinite mind of God. God is the cause of all kinds of ideas, which are experienced either by sensation or reflection. So, for them, what is the aim of education? That is the ability to understand the simple ideas and then to develop them into complex ideas. So the student or the children should be able to develop simple ideas and then convert it into complex ideas. Then humane qualities are to be developed, friendly qualities are to develop, and here, to provide knowledge which has a high degree of certainty and which is demonstrative. Knowledge grows as a result of judgment. Ability to distinguish between rational and empirical knowledge. Scientific attitude and temper is to be developed. Then, what about realism? For realists, we see that the material world exists independent of and external to the mind of knower. So the basis for understanding reality is found in a world of objects and in the perception of these objects. So here we see, according to realists, the world is made up of concrete matter and matter is the fundamental element or ultimate reality of this universe. Again, realists do not agree with the invincible presence of God's soul because they believe that all living things are form of matter. They are the form of matter and the soul is a materialistic consciousness element. So realists, they do not believe in God and soul. they believe only in matter and they consider matter as real. Then, so what about the epistemology? Epistemology, according to realist, is what? Knowing is a process that involves two stages, that is, sensation and abstraction. Realists believe that senses are the doorway to or a gateway to knowledge. What about value system? So it follows that anything consistent with nature is valuable. So anything that consistent with nature is valuable. Then we see what are the aims of, there are different forms of realism also: humanistic, social, sense, neorealism. So finally we see the aim or goals of education: to develop the physical and mental power of child, to prepare the child for a happy and successful life, to develop awareness in a child about the real world, to provide training of senses, to develop attitude of experimentation, then to provide education with which train the child for a proper vocation, or vocational education is a must. Then what about naturalism? That is, they consider nature as real. Naturalists believe that nature is the whole reality. They are prepared only to accept that nature is real. One of the chief supporters of naturalism is Jean-Jacques Rousseau. According to him, he cried for what? Go back to nature, follow nature. So epistemology and naturalism, what does that mean or what it refers to? Where is the real knowledge? So according to Rousseau, the concept of real knowledge is what? Nature is the best teacher. So here, Rousseau's concept of knowledge is referring to negative education is the real method of gaining knowledge. He said that the first education of the child ought to be purely negative. That is, it is hinting upon what? Self-education. Let the child learn himself. Do not restrict a child. Do not overload him with all kind of suggestions and advices. Let the child experience the heat and cold by himself. Nature wants to teach the child. So let the nature teach and the child learn. In between, no one should come. Again, thus negative education is self-education. It is the education of sense organ and the body. Self-experiences do matter. So, what about axiology? So, axiology says what? Here, there is no existence of eternal or universal values. Rather, a child develops his own value system from his interaction with the eternal world of matter and the environment around. The way one interacts with the environment, the way one perceives the nature, accordingly, the value system will develop. There are also different forms: physical naturalism, mechanical naturalism, biological naturalism. Then, what are the different aims of education? That is, naturalism focuses upon what? To develop the capacity of self expression. Again, to develop the power of intelligence of our self existence, adaptation to environment, preservation of cultural heritage, natural development, autonomous development, self preservation, establishing a family and bringing up children, use of leisure time, citizenship development, moral development. Then comes the school, that is Reconstructionism. Reconstructionism, education must commit itself to a new social order that will fulfill the basic values of our culture and at the same time harmonize with the underlying social and economic forces of the modern world. The new society must be a genuine democracy. So here we see the child, the school, and the education itself are conditioned by social and cultural forces. So here pupils, so they have to reconstruct the solutions under the principle of defensible partially. Though open, so here the purpose and end of education must be tailored to meet the demands of the present cultural crisis according to the findings of the behavioral sciences. So here we see educators themselves must rebuild the society by teaching the young a program of social reform. So they are focusing upon reformation, change, modification for the good of the entire society. So what is the aim for social reform? Development of powerful means and social realization. Capacity to examine the cultural heritage. Education must nurture the goal-seeking behavior of children. Socially purposeful education activity must be socially purposeful. It should be meaningful. It should help the students to become cooperative citizens. Problem solving capacity is to be developed. Cultivation of an attitude of planning. Cultural renewal should be there. Constructive social change should be the motto. So these are some of the important aims. Then comes existentialism. This is another school of philosophy. So here we see, what about the reality according to this particular school? The existentialists believe or advocate that reality is a matter of individual existence. So this means that human beings are born and enter the world without being consulted. Life is fundamentally absurd because of this. A person creates his or her own definition and makes his or her own essence. So here each and every individual is different. He has his own personality, identity. He has to create his own reality. So he is unique in himself. So what about the essential epistemology? So they favor what? A person knows only through his experience. So here, truth is always relative to an individual's judgment. Each person must decide what is true and what is significant for him. So this particular school gives freedom to the individual itself to decide what is right and wrong, what suits him, what is important for him, and what is true to him. So there is a personal touch attached to it. So the individual chooses the knowledge that he or she wishes to possess. What about the value theory? So each value is determined by the free choice of the individual himself. Again, what about the aim of education? So here they say that the aim of education is to develop humane quality, inner development of man, development of real consciousness, self-existence, education of the whole man, development of individual awareness, development of self-knowledge. Education must aim at providing what? That is inner peace, self realization, virtues like freedom, self examination, self awareness. Then comes another school, that is pragmatism. So, pragmatism here it focuses upon what? Here, pragmatism rejects metaphysics. Therefore, this particular theory focuses upon what? That is only those things are considered to be real, which is useful, or which has some workability. So, here, reality, they argue, is determined by an individual sense of experience. Epistemology, so they say, all that can be known is depend on experience. This experiencing of phenomena determine knowledge. What about value? Values are relative to time, place, and circumstance. They keep on changing depending upon the situation. What about the aim? They focus upon what? The cultivation of a dynamic and adaptable mind. Develop such a personality of a child which will help the child to restructure his experience, to solve the problem through experimentation. So, problem solving ability is to be developed. Again, proper growth and development of the child is to be looked for. Then, education should be aimed for what? All round development of the child. Pragmatists emphasize that education must aim to realize democratic values in life. So, here they believe in learning by doing. So, these are some of the important aims of education according to the pragmatist school of philosophy. What about analysts? Analysts basically they suggest the method of examining the language used in making statements about knowledge, education, and schooling, and of seeking to clarify it by establishing its meaning. So here we see that is how to analyze a thing, how to break down and study it, how to learn it by bit. Then what about according to analysts? Reality consists of what is not knowledgeable, knowable. That is to say, anything that can be verified by experience. So they consider a particular thing which can be verified by experience as the real knowledge. They reject cosmic system and those things are to be considered which can be verified by experience. Epistemology, according to analysts, they assert that the method of science must be the method of philosophy. So, the scientific attitude of open mindedness, objectivity, and critical reflection in thinking is necessary for correct thinking. So, all values are related to the needs of the individual and to humanity. Therefore, value system values are acquired by human interaction, and the validity of value then is determined by empirical observation and research. So, here we see what are the aims of education. According to this particular school, education must promote the intellectual and social development, scientific attitude of open mindedness and objectivity, the ability to withhold one's judgment until the relevant data are collected. Then what next? To provide environment and developmental set which will help the student to acquire the capacity to logically and empirically verify the knowledge. Then what about logical positivism? So logical positivism has what? What are the important characteristics of philosophical thinking to it? So here positivists treat metaphysics as impossible or nonsensible because they emphasize to make philosophy and statement related to science amiable to logical analysis. Language analysis. A statement can be true or false if it is meaningful, but since metaphysical assertions are not meaningful, the question of their being true or false does not arise. So here we see logical statements need confirmation on the demand of logic only. So long as they are true to logical demand, they need no verification for the truth. According to the this particular school, epistemologically, any knowledge is true that is verified on the basis of some criteria of verifiability. So the question of value is associated with emotive statements which expresses feelings which can be understood, but it is difficult, very difficult to prove it to be true or false. So here we see they focus upon what? That is language analysis. They see that a particular thing is knowledge if it is verified on the basis of some criteria, and value is associated with what? Feelings. But it is very difficult to prove it to be true or false. So according to them, what should be the aim of education? That is what? It should develop conceptual clarity. Language analysis ability is to be developed, equipping students with which will help them to analyze language properly. Then aim of education is to provide all-round development of personality, inculcate scientific attitude, method of language analysis, judge the meaningfulness of the concept through direct and indirect methods of verification. Then comes interpretativist. What about this particular school of thought? They say what? For them, what are the aims and objectives or goals? Ability to interpret the behavior of people in proper context, to acquire the ability to understand the limitation of interpretation, the ability to understand the symbolic interaction. So they say that is constructed. Reality is constructed from everyday interaction with individual. Knowledge is constructed depend upon the grasping of meaning that people give to their behavior. So they say that it keeps on changing. So therefore, the ability to understand symbolic interaction is important. Education should be so planned that it must help the teachers to develop an environment in which they may get experiential knowledge. Capacity of adaptation among children is to be developed. Then comes Marxism or social scientific theory given by Karl Marx. So what is, according to Marxist view, what is epistemology? So sensation or perception is an interaction between subject and object. What about value theory? They say believe in the labor theory of value. Aim of education is what? Vocational and educational skill is to be developed. Rules of good behavior is to be developed. Then education should inculcate among children a sense of modesty. Training of children to become potentially future citizens of the future leaders of the state. Then systematic knowledge, skill, and habits is to be given to the children. Then principle of brotherhood is to be developed. Character development should be there. Habits of good habits are to be developed. These are some of the important aim of education according to this particular Marxist school of philosophy. Then comes ethno-methodology. Ethno-methodology is basically sociologists who have reflected on the issues of philosophy and education. They think what? That for them, metaphysical thinking of this particular school is revealed in their understanding of the social phenomena, that object reality of social fact is established as an ongoing accomplishment of the concerted activities of everyday life. They think that the common sense method of constructing reality is the real way of studying the world. Again, social reality is comes from social interaction and by the use of your common sense. They favor linguistic analysis of communication, and they say that observation, perception, all these are helpful in constructing the real knowledge. So for them, what are the aim of education? Self-analysis of the environment and development of interpretive and reflective mind, inculcation of what? That is non-empirical attitude of the students so that they can creatively use various methods to gain knowledge and various discipline. Then comes what? That is the aim of education during the British rule. That is in the year, the period between 1813 to 1854. Here we see the Macaulay Minute. He wanted to create what? Indians in blood, in color, but English in taste, in opinion. So they favored what? Therefore, the main aim of education during this period, that is from 1813 to 1854, was what? To spread Western knowledge in science and literature. Then, the period between 1854 to 1900 focused upon what? That is English as a medium of instruction, spread of Western knowledge in science. The Indian Education Commission in 1882 focused upon or pleaded for the encouragement of private Indian enterprise as the best means of spreading education in India. Then the period from 1901 to 1921 focused upon what? That is, main aim of the government was to control and improve school and colleges rather than increase their number. So qualitative improvement of higher education was the main focus than only expansion of the different educational institutions. Then in the period of 1921 to 1937, arrangement introduced by the Government of Indian Act, that was for the financial provision should be made. Here, one important thing also that is to be included is what? That is Berkeley's Bill, which introduced what? Elementary education as a compulsory thing to be included. Mass literacy was given emphasis. Then, the period between 1937 and 1940, Gandhi's basic education, craft centered education, mother tongue was emphasized as a medium of education. So then the period of 1940 to 45, that is what? Central Advisory Board of Education was there. Sergeant Payano report of 1944. It focused upon what? Pre-primary education, universal and compulsory education, technical and commercial art education, proper training of teachers. Then after the post-independence period, we have University Education Commission under the chairmanship of whom? Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, that is 1948 to 49. The main aim of it was what? To foster the high ideals of life, new values of life leading to an integrated way. Then again, cultural unity of India should be promoted. What about the Constitution of India? The preamble of the Constitution says what? The sovereign democratic Republic of India will ensure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity of nation. Again, the Article 45, that is focused upon what? Universal free and compulsory education to all. Then comes secondary education 1952-53 under the chairmanship of Dr. L. Mudaliar. So it is otherwise known as Mudaliar Commission. So here, reconstruction of secondary education focused upon development of democratic citizenship, vocational efficiency, all-round development of personality, then developing leadership quality. Education Commission, that is otherwise known as Kothari Commission. Here it focused upon what? That is increasing national productivity, achieving social and national integration, cultivating social, moral, and spiritual values. So, Education Commission was from 1964 to 66. Then, the National Policy on Education 1968, followed by National Policy on Education 1986. Then, the Acharya Ramamurthy Committee. This report is what? That is, review of the National Policy on Education was reviewed, and here the, the title of the report was Towards an Enlightened and Humane Society in the year 1990. The main focus was what? Modern democratic society is to be developed, and lifelong process of learning is to be highlighted. Learning to be by learning to become. Again, techno-informative, technological knowledge is to be developed. Skill education is to be provided. Foundational skill like communication, computation, social skill, manual skill, all these were emphasized. Then policy framework for reformation was done in the year 2000. That is Ambani Birla report. Then we see national curriculum framework for school education in the year 2000. So here we see that is curriculum framework was done, and national curriculum framework for school education 2005. Another thing which is what it the main focus of this was what? That is democratic values to be included in the curriculum, equality, justice, freedom, and independence of thought and action, choices in life, ability to participate in democratic processes, creativity is to be developed. Then comes what? International Commission of Education 1972, which focused upon scientific humanism, development of creativity, social commitment. Then International Commission on Education for the 21st Century, that is the treasure within. It focused upon four things, that is learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, learning to be. Then comes what? Then we come to the modern thinkers. That is modern thinkers, the aim of education according to the Indian thinkers. First is Rabindranath Tagore from 6th May 1861 to 1941. He was a nature lover. He is otherwise known as Gurudev. He is a Nobel Prize winner for his book Gitanjali in the year 1913. He was a humanist, a prophet of love, sympathy, fellow feeling, and cooperation. Here he believed in internationalism, brotherhood, self expression, and creative. He also, what are the different aim of education according to Tagore? Encourage and foster freedom of thought, promote moral and spiritual develop the ability of assimilation, proper scientific temper, develop fellow feeling. Then comes Mahatma Gandhi, the father of nation, that is from 2nd October 1869 to 30th Jan 1948. So for him, truth is God and God is truth. He believed in Ramarajya, and for him, what was the aim of education? The aim of education was harmonious development of the child. He emphasized that education should develop 3H, that is hand. It should have coordination with hand, head, and heart, and provide 3R, that is reading, writing, and arithmetic. The ultimate, he also focused upon different aim of education like spiritual development aim, moral development aim, proper character formation, bread and butter aim. So ultimate aim is liberation of or attainment of salvation. Then your Jiddu Krishnamurti, he believed in what? That aim of education should be which will make the child, which will help the child to have independent thought process, independent thinking. Education is not merely acquiring knowledge and gathering correlation facts. It is to create human beings who are integrated and therefore intelligent. So it should help the child to develop self-awareness, love, and goodness. Creativity skills is to be developed, encourage thoughtfulness. And what about Gijubhai? Gijubhai is a thinker from Gujarat. So had created he had experimented or created a school for children of age group of 3 plus on experimental basis. So Bal Mandir was its name. And here we see what was the aim according to Gijubhai. A child is a complete person who has the intellect, emotion, mind and understanding, strength and weakness, likes and weakness. So child should be given proper freedom. Teacher should be well trained. A sympathetic model should be there in classroom. Conducive environment should be provided. Then only the child's proper development will be there. The child is to develop from within. Nothing is to be forced. Individuality of the child is to be respected. Then comes Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo Ghosh, 15th August 1872, a spiritual thinker. His philosophy of life is he's a spiritual thinker, a patriot, a poet. So here we see that he focused upon what? Evolution of consciousness. That is evolution of man to a superman. The aim of education was to develop what? That is proper body, proper mind, all-round development of individual, development of both matter and spirit. His education is known as integral education, development of the whole man. So here, what are the different thing he has focused? Nothing can be taught or improved from outside. The mind has to be consulted in its growth. Educational process must emphasize from near to far, that is from known to unknown, from simple to complex. Then only the child will be able to understand. Then we see the Western thinkers. First is what? John Dewey. From the first half of the 20th century, he focused upon the pragmatistic theory and he focused upon what? Learning by doing. His philosophical pragmatism concerned with interaction, reflection, and experience, an interest in community and democracy. Again, for him, education is the process of reconstruction of experience, giving it more socialized value through the medium of increased individual efficiency. So, Dewey says that education is a tripolar process where social influence or societal influence matter a lot. So here, conducive atmosphere or ambience should be there so that proper teaching learning process will be there. He recommended by learning by experience, learning by doing. Then A.N. Whiteland, what is his aim of education? So here he says that he is of the opinion that education with inert ideas is not only useless, it is above all harmful. He meant that ideas are merely received into the mind without being criticized or tested or thrown into fresh combination. It is not enough if you simply acquire knowledge. It should be appropriately used to solve the problems of life and it should be kept alive, thus preventing it from becoming mere inert. So education is the acquisition of the art of utilizing the knowledge. So here he said what? Whiteline said what? That is education is not just acquiring of the information. One has to utilize the knowledge in the right manner. Presence of mind should be there. Problem solving ability should be there. Creative talent should be there. Knowledge is to be practically utilized in the day-to-day life so that the day-to-day life problems can be solved. Then only real education can take place. Then we see what? Then we see Russell. So Russell says what? That is one of the founders of analytic philosophy. His aim of education is what? Whose love for individual freedom and free inquiry is well known. He should be, education for him is what? That is, education should aim at the enlargement of mind and heart. Then the acquisition of certain kind of skill will be there. He opined that natural cohesion is needed Without a world state, without a worldwide systematic education based on individual freedom, a well-being, there is no future for human scientific civilization. Hence, the aim of education is to foster a spirit of international peace and amity through education. So, international peace and amity was the main focus of education according to Russell. Then, Paulo Freire. So, he is a Brazilian philosopher and educationist. So here he focused upon what? He focused upon your pedagogy of the oppressed, pedagogy of the literacy education, and exchange with the action and here development of critical consciousness. He focused upon development of critical consciousness. And Ivan, then comes the Ivan Illich. That is, he focused upon deschooling. So here these are the different kinds of philosophers with different views. And here we see the Eastern and the Western philosophers, how they have understood how they have given the aim of education, how they have, what are their opinions regarding it, the methodology and the educational thought process of their, which has helped them to give to their life philosophy have influenced the educational philosophy, the aims and objectives, and they favor different schools of philosophy, the Indian philosophers and the Western philosophers. So here, in this way, we find the aims and goals of education and how the philosophers have given the different aims of education according to their own life philosophy. So, thank you. And tomorrow we'll be doing the last block of this particular MES-12, that is block 4 at 6 p.m. Thank you.